What is up, everybody? My name is Zach Pfeiffer, and this is your recap of episode 8 of season 45 of Survivor, following a dead horse to water. And it did not end how I wanted it to end. Bruce is proven quite difficult to get rid of, and with his idol, I don't think he's going home anytime soon. So, poor sweet Kelly played the middle ground too well, and it cost her life in the game. But let me do a run through of this episode real fast because it was chock full of really good stuff, and we're getting to the pointy end of the season for sure. So we start off. Jake and Julie, everyone's back at camp, but Jake and Julie have a little conversation, and Jake is like, as we saw at the last tribal council, he's like, Julie, I voted for you. And Julie's like, fuck you, dude. And Jake tries to smooth it over as best as possible. But it's not looking good for Jake, and Julie's pissed, and Julie's like, I'm down to get Jake out. And then we wake up in the morning, and all the girls are in the shelter, and we have all the guys on the beach. It's a 6-4 split, and the ladies are like, we have the majority. We should do an all-ladies alliance. And, you know, they mention it, they preview it in the previews for this episode, and really, as much as I would love for it to happen, I don't think it's in everyone's best interest, because regardless of gender politics, people are going to think about what's best for them in the game. And while this might be good for Dee and Julie, Kendra, Katora, it is not best for Emily, whose closest ally is Drew at this point. So it's a good plan, but not very well executed. Meanwhile, the men are on the beach talking about tacos, which is just lovely. And then the first big surprising thing on this episode is a boat shows up with a big old table and a letter for them to read. And Kendra reads it, and it's like, yeah, the auction is motherfucking back. And everyone loses the goddamn mind, as they should, because it's about time they brought the auction back. I know it was broken. They broke it in 30 worlds apart. I agree with Jeff. It needed some tweaking, but I don't think it needed to wait 15 seasons for its return. But God, I'm glad they did. It was very fun. The first thing they changed was how they got the money. What a great twist. I might steal it for Sir Pfeiffer. They all have to go find money in the forest, and they're all running around trying to find it. And Bruce is, for some reason, not eager to find. He's putting his shoes on, taking his sweet time, and finds one canister. They all start with different amounts of money. Dee has the most at $900. Bruce has the least at $80. So they go to the auction, and Jeff is like, listen here, we're at the new auction, and here's what's new with the auction 2.0. There are no advantages, so don't save your money for any advantages. 2, we're going to randomly choose how many items are in this auction, so no one will know when it ends except for me and the chefs that are making all this food in the kitchen, in the jungle. And last but not least, they have decided that whoever has the most money at the end of the game will lose their vote in that tribal council, which, okay, some people might hate it. I think that's great. I'm just gonna dive in. The thing I don't think that works with this auction is they incentivized them to spend all their money quickly. It did not incentivize them to save any of their money, so that people would have this worrying issue of do I save my money? Do I lose my vote? That type of struggle. It was very clear whoever had the most money, everyone was just gonna spend their money. So I do think it was a good step in the right direction for the auction. I do think they need to tweak it a little bit more. They need to find a way to balance everyone spending all their money at once while still saving it with, if there's a threat of lose a vote, that needs to stay, but there has to be something there where people are like, ooh, what do we do? If it were me, food items everywhere. And then I would say something along the lines of, there is, I don't know, maybe one advantage, just one, and it'll be very clear. So people will kind of want to wait for that advantage to appear. So they're saving their money. But maybe there's something where the advantage is also potentially the last item in the auction. I don't know. There's a lot of things they can do to kind of incentivize people to save their money while spending at the same time. This threat of losing a vote, but also maybe a perk of, maybe there's something where it's whoever has the least amount of money at the end has to get something as well. I don't know, but they have room to grow there. And overall, the auction's really fun. It's lots of weird little food items. They scaled it down. I didn't see a burger and fries, just fries and ketchup. Saw pretzels and beer. Saw a bowl full of candy. Honestly, they were really not the best items if I were really dying. I mean, yes, I wouldn't want food if I'm starving on the island, but it is strange that they didn't have a deli sandwich or like nachos. It was just like mouthwash. Sorry, Julie. Peanut butter jelly chips in a margarita was probably the best combination, but like so weird. What a weird combination. And ultimately, Bruce ends up with the most money at the end and doesn't get anything to eat and loses his vote. So Bruce loses his vote. Highlight of the auction is Keturah getting the giant fish eyes, which I thought were giant jelly donuts at first. And then Austin paying to eat one of those eyeballs and slurping it up and it being disgusting. So definitely points for Austin in regards to eating the eye. I was listening to a podcast that was like talking about how funny it would be is if they would like reveal items and it was like, is this fish eyes or is this cake? So it's like playing the is this cake game. I think that could be fun to have people eat food and then realize it's not what they thought it was. Anyway. So we do the auction. It's all great. We're going to vote off Bruce tonight. Everyone agrees. Bruce needs to go. And then we go to our immunity challenge, which is another new era twist. As we remember, at this point in the game, they're starving. They are so hungry. And Jeff is like, I'm going to offer you some rice. But in order to get this rice, I need a certain amount of you to sit out. Begin with negotiations of like, how many people do we need to sit out? Is it 5? No, let's do 4. You know, that kind of tit on tat. And I guess Jeff wanted to add a little bit more excitement to this decision-making process. So he shanks the bag of rice and just starts bleeding everywhere. And they have a time limit now. If they want this rice and whatever's left in the rice, they need 4 people to step forward. And they succeed in it. They believe, if I remember right, Drew sits out. Emily sits out. Yes. Who else sits out in this? Keturah and... Not Julie, because Julie and Bruce are at the very end together. I forget who the 4th one is. It doesn't really matter. But they sit out. We compete in this challenge where you have to hold a third of your pregame body weight, and the things get lower. It's like a similar... it's like the opposite variation of when you're like hanging over the water and you're like falling back and you're trying to hold yourself up. I think I like the water one a little bit more, but this works. And cool enough, we have Julie and Bruce, the 2 eldest members of the tribe, holding on, which... By eldest, they're not nearly as old as it was back in the day with like Rudy at like 70 something playing the game. So it's really cool to see them outlasting all the other kids. And I really wanted Julie to win, but Bruce winning definitely added a nice wrinkle in everyone's plan and forced everyone to rethink of what they were going to do. It clearly shifts on Jake after, and Jake is clearly the target that everyone's going for, but Jake is very vocal and frantic and is probably going to play Shot in the Dark. And after seeing Caleb play his Shot in the Dark, we know it's only 1 in 6 chance, but like it does beef up the odds of him getting it, seeing it be achieved before. So I think people are genuinely concerned about Jake hitting his Shot in the Dark. So then it goes, who's next? Who's Bruce's other ally? And it's Kelly. And what the producers did so well, and I'm sure there was more conversation being had, but they like mentioned it. They sprinkled it in. Drew was like, maybe we go for Kelly. And then we hear the talking heads saying like, no, I don't think that's the right move right now. So I honestly didn't think Kelly's name was going to pop up. I thought it was going to be a red herring. And we were ultimately going to see Jake go, sadly. I went to this episode thinking Kendra was going to go. And I thought that like Bruce being in Unity, they were going to, the Reba 4 plus Emily were going to decide between Jake, Keturah, Kelly, and Kendra of who was going to go, really. And Jake and Kelly were like the closest to Bruce. So, I think that the thought process was that like Bruce could have played an idol for Jake, but he could have played it for Kelly too, who was vocal about her being his number 1. So I thought it was going to be Kendra, honestly. I thought Keturah had some in with the Reba 4 plus Emily, so that I think Keturah was kind of insulated a little bit more than Kendra. And if they wanted to make a clean sweep vote without the possibility of this idol being played, they could have voted for Kendra. So I thought it was going to like blindside us that way. I did not think Kelly was going to go home, and neither did she. We get to tribal council, and Jake puts on the performance of a lifetime. There's been a lot of debate whether it was like a put-on performance or if he just simply was that panicky. But I can guarantee you the slip-up of the idol was intentional. Him being like, my idol, the idol. I'm just like, come on, bro. That's not going to work. And everyone's like, it's clear. Jake's back is up against the wall. They go to vote, comes back. Jake reveals that he played a shot in the dark, did not hit it, not safe. So Jake feels like he's going home. And then we start getting the votes, and we get 4 votes Jake, And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on Kelly. And Kelly is blindsided and she is devastated. She said she blacked out when it happened. She stands up and goes, "What the hell, guys? Was it you?" She turns to Emily and to make sure that, it reminded me very much of the Michaela to Jay moment in Millennial Gen X, if you remember. A blindside is always painful. I'd rather go home in a blindside than not. I'd rather be sent home because everyone thinks I'm a threat than because I'm a easy vote off. And that's exactly what Kelly achieved. She was a lot of people's sole survivor pick. She was playing a great game, and ultimately her alliance with Bruce and playing this middle game did not serve her as well. And she followed a dead horse to water, and the dead horse is Bruce. So Kelly is the second member of our jury. We loved you. So far our jury is pretty all-stars. In this new era, we are getting rid of our threats first. And it's this game of like playing a strategic game, and now you have to be threatening, but your threat is being able to manage that threat, I think that we are really in the world right now where we have to redefine what makes a great Survivor player. And we traditionally, Caleb, Kelly, fantastic Survivor players, would be a threat in any other season, but I do think they would make it further. And now we're looking up at the team that we have left. I think the most physically fit people are probably Austin and Bruce. Jake's in there too. Most social player, I think, is probably Dee and Julie, this Reba 4 that we've got going on. And as it comes down to like strategy, like I know Drew has been calling some shots. Dee says a name and that name goes. So like we aren't like, there isn't like a triple threat left in the game, I think. And now I think it's going to be a pick and choose moment of who do we strike next? Who's the next rising threat? And if you look at what we've got right now, Bruce has an idol and has won an immunity challenge. Dee has won an immunity challenge, and that's it as individuals go. So Bruce is a pretty big threat with his idol. I would be surprised if he doesn't play his idol in this next episode. Austin has 2 idols, so he has a lot of power in this game. I think the Reba 4 and Emily know about those, but I'm not sure if the original Bellows know about those idols. I think he's pretty insulated with Dee and with Drew, so I don't think he'll be the target. Dee seems pretty safe to me, although she has won an immunity, so she's like a strategic and a rising physical threat. Drew, I think, can be targeted because of his brains. He's calling a lot of shots. He's vocal about who he wants to work with and who he doesn't want to work with. Emily has this great story as this underdog. Like, they're going to be targeting these things. I think the people that are a little bit safer right now, in my opinion, I think Katurah is pretty safe right now, unless Bruce somehow flips the votes on to Katurah. I think I don't think she's as big of a threat as some other players right now. Kendra in the same way. I think Julie is in the same way. And now Jake. These bottom 4 are really going to be in the situation where I think they're a little bit more insulated because they aren't playing the cleanest games. They're kind of flopping. They're kind of flipping. And at the end of the day, people aren't targeting those as threats. And I think these top 5 are going to be the ones to really watch out for. If I had my guess in this next episode, it's called Sword of Damocles. I think that Drew's going to say that, and I also think that Drew's going to be the one that has the sword fall on his head. If you're unfamiliar, the Sword of Damocles is a sword above a king's throne that's held by a string as a reminder of how dangerous it is to be sitting in the position of power. And I do think that Drew is kind of in that place. He did not play safety without power last week, so he feels like he's insulated. He feels like he's safe. He knows his buddy has 2 idols. And I think he's going to start itching to make a big move. And we have a preview of Emily and Drew kind of maybe targeting Dee. So if I had to make my druthers, is that a word? If I had my way, I think that Drew and Emily are going to try to flip everything onto Dee, and Austin's going to catch wind of this. Austin's going to be like, no, might play an idol for Dee, might try to flip it onto someone else. But I think Bruce would be a clear consensus vote, but I think he's going to play his idol. So ultimately, if the word of Drew trying to throw something on Dee does happen, I can see Drew getting a couple votes, really getting idled out by Bruce. I think Drew's going home next. I could also see Kendra going. I don't think Katurah's yet. I don't think Jake's yet. I think Bruce will play his idol. So honestly, it could be Drew, Kendra, or it could be Emily. It could be her time to go. If she talks with Drew about getting Dee out, and then they're trying to be like, what do we keep? Do we keep the enemy we are closer to, or this enemy that is a little bit left in the wild? Like, Drew wouldn't really have any places to go, but Emily has proven to be pretty adaptable. So I think it's down to these three. My guess is going to be on Drew, but it's anyone's guess at this point. We're getting really close to this end of the season. This is episode 9, I believe, is the next one. Yeah? 9? We have 9 people left, which will leave us with 8, 7, and then 6 will be your finale. So we really have 3 episodes into our finale, which is insane to me. A lot of game left, not that many days because 26 days is not that long. But yeah, this season has been fantastic. I think we're at the point, the only thing that could like tank it a little bit is if the wrong person wins and we're not happy with the winner. But this season has been so fun, and I really think it's the best of the new era so far, and probably the best season since 37 with David versus Goliath. That twists aren't overpowering the game. They are adaptable. People are able to figure stuff out. I just wish they would stop now, because I know that there's a twist in this next episode based on the trailer about 3 people losing their votes, so that a third of this party going to tribal council will not have a vote, which is okay, cool. I want them to play Survivor now. So anyway, that was this week's episode. We will miss you, Kelly. I'm so glad we get to see you every week on the jury. I'm curious to see who will join you next, and I'm even more curious to see how the rest of the season is going to shape out. Happy Survivor, y'all. I hope you're enjoying 45 as much as I am, and I will be talking to you very soon. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.